Would you expose yourself in front of your peers? You're looking at me funny. I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about exposing your vulnerabilities. Do you feel comfortable enough to let out some of your inner self? Exposing your inner self ultimately challenges your aversion to taking too much risk. The risk of rejection, the risk of failure, and the risk of regretting a decision. So what could be so valuable that you would put your inner self on the line and take such a risk? What could be so valuable? How about the opportunity to become something bigger than you are? That's why you became a Toastmaster, isn't it? You felt you were missing something in your life and you wanted to take some action. But taking bold action always means some risk. Whenever I open up my vulnerabilities, I feel something sinister germinating in my stomach. Whenever I make a cold call, whenever I try some crazy new adventure, I feel it, like right here. Maybe you do too? I call this feeling my gremlin. So back when I was in college, some 4.5 centuries ago, I was a pretty shy guy. And in between trying to go out and meet people and come across as cool and just trying to adjust to college life, my stomach was always in knots. But I remember my friend Ray. Ray was really helpful. One day I was feeling particularly blue, and I went into my dorm room, shut the door, I picked up the phone, and I called Ray to complain about loneliness. And that's when Ray said, "Hey, Oscar, come on. Hang up the phone with me. Get out of your dorm room and go meet some people. Don't miss out." If you're like I was back then, taking risks can be really, really scary. That familiar little gremlin starts taking root in your stomach. And it feels pretty awful. But you know, you can learn to fight that gremlin if the risk is worthwhile. For you, it might be gathering that courage to go and approach that person you always wanted to meet. For you, it might be getting ready for that big job interview. For you, it just might be fighting for the courage to speak more in public. Well, the day I fought my gremlin was one day in Las Vegas. Who am I kidding? I'm not a prize fighter. It was March of 2017, and I was at a conference for aspiring public speakers, featuring a group of world champion speakers, some coaches, and their mentor. Here's my chance to practice my speaking material in front of the best of the best. Picture this, lit by stage lights brighter than you've ever seen. The champs, their mentor, and their coaches, they're taking up the whole stage, and I'm starstruck. And at that moment, the mastermind of the conference, Mr. Darren LaCroix, grabs the mic, runs up to the stage and says, "All right, people, I need 3 or 4 volunteers to get up on stage and practice some of your speech for us." Did I mention I'm starstruck? And as a former shy guy, I'd rather pluck out my own fingernails than speak in front of this group of world champions, 40 of my peers, and an audience of unknown size streaming the event live. But before I can come to my senses, before that gremlin gouges out my stomach, something under my seat propels me forward to be the next victim speaker volunteer. And with every step, I'm fighting back that voice. "What are you doing? Are you not? What are you doing?" But it's too late. I'm standing by the foot of the stage, And the two speakers in front of me have already gone, and Darren hands me the mic. Stage lights brighter than you've ever seen. The whole champs next to me and their mentor, 40 of my peers, and an audience of unknown size streaming the event live. And I begin my speech. But not 2 seconds later, I hear from my left, "Stop!" And then one by one, the champs cut me off and they give me their brutal, yet honest and powerful feedback and insight. And then their mentor, she grabs my hand and she looks at me tenderly and starts giving me her feedback. At this point, I'm having an out-of-body experience. I'm floating above the stage. I see me, I see this gremlin, and some dude named Oscar who, at this point, I don't even recognize. So I'm back in my body now, and I kick that darn gremlin off the stage and continue to receive my feedback. But just then, it was all over. And I'm back in my seat, realizing, oh my gosh, how much I've grown in just, 2 minutes? Not only that, I've beaten my gremlin at its own game. Absolutely amazing. But what will you do if your gremlin gets in the way? Will you let your gremlin keep you from living your life? Because if you don't subdue your gremlin, it will win. And it will deprive you of the growth you deserve. Just like if I had sat there quietly in my seat, I would have deprived not only myself, but my peers of such an amazing and awesome learning experience. So take up arms against your gremlin. Fight back. It's really worth the risk.